Okay, so right click buyer, edit top 200 rows, and that should give you this. Okay, and then we're just going to enter some data here. So the ID will be just one. Make it very simple. One first name. What's first name? Larry Bird. Okay, Larry, you're in there. 2 Magic Johnson. I'm not sure why it's all sports today. Okay, so let's just say I have those two. Okay, let's save it and go to the sellers table. Do the same thing. Right click, edit top 200, and ID of 1. Seller will be okay, but this is for hero Clark Kent. 2 is Lois Lane. So I say I have three sellers. Okay. So save. And then we go to the orders table. Right click, edit top 200 rows. And then the order ID will be, you don't put that in there, right? It's managed. I think we set that as an identity. We'll leave that as this. The order product would be, I don't know, shoes. Total is, let's just say $50. The buyer is 1 and the seller is also 1. Okay? And then number 2 is going to be a PlayStation. Somebody's playing this one here. This would be, let's just say, $5.99 and 25 cents. Buyer is 2 and seller is 3. Okay, and then one more. This would be iPhone X for $800. Really expensive. Buyer is, we only have 2 buyers, so it's back to 1, and the seller is 2. Okay, so we save that. And if you go to your script and make the queries, you should get those data back. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the query. If you have in here, it should still be here. You can go to the arrow over here, drop down, click on it. If it's not there anymore, then just create a new one. Mine is gone because I deleted mine. So now, oh, that's a lot. Let's say you want to see the sellers, right, and the buyers. Just select all from buyer. Do the same thing with the seller, and then do one with the product and the orders.
Could you do a select all from unit 9 dB?
Yeah, you can. You can do like unit 9 dB. Just a lot of typing. Okay, a 9 dB dash.
No, I meant just select all from unit 9 dB.
No. Not from the database. It has to come from the table. Okay. That'll make life easier, right?
Would.
Yeah. So if we run this 3 here, just click execute, and these are the data we entered earlier. Okay. Okay, so now if you go back to the report and refresh the report, you should see that now all 3 tables have some data about 15, 16K in there. Okay, so they have in there, and it has this diagrams ready to be used as well. But you have 2 records in here, 3 in order, 3 in sales, and that's what we have. So far, so good. Okay, so back here, I'm going to go and turn this off down here. All right, so let's create a view for the buyer table. Okay, so if you do like create view, followed by the view name, I will use the prefix first, underscore VW underscore buyer. And then I just put as, and then the keyword or the select statement. Select. If I do the star, for example, if you look at this, it's just same as the other one up there. Okay, if I do this, it says, if you look at this, it says the view must be the only statement in the batch. Okay, we'll deal with this one next week. Again, it has to do with the word go. So I put go here, well not here, but you'll see that it goes away. Okay, so that go is a very special keyword, and you will use that in your script. So notice that I gave you a script, or somebody gave you a script, you just run it one time, it creates everything for you one shot, right? That has a lot, if you look at it, it has a lot of go statements in there. If you don't do this, then you cannot create view. It will error out because the syntax error. So that's why the go is a special marker to tell this engine that from here on these are separate statements. This is a separate statement, and so on. Okay, but just for coding purposes, if you just do testing here, you don't really care because I can just pick and choose that part and then run. Okay, so it's okay. It just look ugly because of the red squiggly line, and then you just put that go there so to prevent that from showing up. So I just created a view which is exactly same as this one here. It has all the columns from the buyer, and then it's now called VW buyer. Okay, to see if it's in there, you can go to the tables here, or not tables, but under the views here, under unit 9DB, expand that folder, and you'll see that it's there now. So it's like a table. Okay, right here. And if you expand that view, you see all the columns, triggers, indexes, just like before, just like a table. If you compare this with your buyer table, you look at it, it looks very similar. I have the columns table, the triggers, the indexes, and the statistics. So it has the index folder here. That's why you can still create indexes for your views. Okay? But right now there's no indexes there. It's nothing there, no trigger. The columns are exactly the same as my the buyer column. Okay, 3, except it's not an ID here. It's not a primary key like it does up there. So therefore, it doesn't have an index. Okay, because it just store this select statements. That's all it does. There's like a window to the underlying table. In this case, would be the buyer table. Okay. So now I can go back in here and select data from the view instead of from the actual table. So if I go and select the view, I get the same data back. Oh, forgot from. Just like if I do that from the table itself. Okay, so exactly same. And because it's from the same table, you can insert data from the view as well. So I could insert another person here. I'm not sure you can do from here. I'm not sure it lets you do it. Maybe it does. View. Yeah, it does. You get back to the original table, but it's looked exactly the same as the original table. You can add it from here. Or let's do it from the command line. So insert into the view, VW buyer. Okay, the values is, the first is the ID, so we can give it a 3. Okay, you can't put a 1 or 2 because it's primary key in the underlying table, so it will have a conflict. So 3, the buyer will be Jason Kidd, something almost all these sports figure. Okay, so I added Jason Kidd in there. Going through the view, and then that view will push the data over to the underlying table, which is the buyer table. So if we execute that statement, it should be successful. And then if you click the view, bless you, select from the view, you should get that third person added. If you select from the buyer, you should get the same result. Okay, so now it's going back to that table. You can also edit it too. So if you want to change, let's just say his name to somebody else, you can say update the view buyer, set, let's just put the last name to Smith, where buyer ID is 3. Okay, and if you update that, as you can see, it's working just fine, just like from the table. If you show that data, now Jason Kidd has been changed to Jason Smith. Delete will be the same thing. Delete from that and then select where ID is 3, and that will also delete. Because it's coming from the same table, so there's no ambiguity. So that works fine. The only time you can't answer data is if you don't include the field in here, like the by ID, for example. So let's just say that if I go and alter this view, okay, because this one here, I'm selecting every column from that buyer table. If you want to alter it, then you can do it this way. I'm going to copy this, okay, and move it to the bottom. So keep those record. This is the original view. Again, if you want to see it, just type in sp_help text and then the view name. You should see this. So to alter the view, I just put the alter here instead of view, and I'm going to modify my select statement to select the columns. Just say I want to select only the first name and last name. Okay, I don't include the ID. So if I run this, execute, okay. Now if I select this from the view, everything from the view, you'll see that I only see the first name and last name. Okay, ID is not there. I cannot access the ID. I can't go ahead and put, you know, buyer ID. It doesn't exist because it's none in my original view. So it's a buyer ID is not found.
So can you insert it to now or no?
What do you think?
Okay.
Well, it depends on the column. So that ID column, is it required or not? Okay, if it's required, if it's a field that is not nullable, then you can't. Okay, it's going to ask you for it, right? So we could do that now. I can copy this, put it back down here. Okay, since we only have 2 fields, I cannot put the first one here. If I put, like, for example, 4 here, put Mason instead. Okay, if I select that and insert that into the view, it has an error because it says the table's supplied number of columns don't match. If I take out the ID of 4 and now I have the first name and last name only, it matches my view. I try to insert that into the table. I also have an error because the buyer ID is not nullable. It's a primary key, so you need to input that in there. So in this example here, the end user cannot update the table. Okay, you can't delete either. Well, maybe you can. because it will delete that column automatically. But you can insert in this case because the ID is required. Okay, so here we have.
Question, if that were an identity column where it pops up on its own, then I can insert that?
That would be fine. Yeah, if it's identity, yes, because you can't put it there anyway. Yeah, good question. So if I do like a SP help text view buyer, you see the underlined query. Okay, shows you exactly where it is coming from, which columns, the original column from the original table. If you have any aliases in here, you'll see them all here. Okay, so let's go and alter this table, and we're going to encrypt it. Okay, so I'll put here between the word as and the alter table here. Let's just put the word with encryption. And if you run this again, just highlight the whole thing and run it. It's just altering the table, the view. Execute. Okay, I can still select data from it just like before. It was no problem. It's because it's there. Okay, select view from, select from the buyer. Data is there. But if I try to look at the source code, see that it says it's encrypted. Okay, so you pretty much you don't have access to it. And just curious, if I go and refresh over here, and let's see if I can get that from here. I'm not sure, but as you can see, you can't. Okay, I'm trying to get it from here like we did earlier. Okay, do a right click and then script view as create, and usually we'll print out the whole thing where it says the text is encrypted, so you can't. So it's protected. Okay, so that means it's gone for good, pretty much. And you can, if you have the original source code, you can go back. Oh, okay, I want to remove that, and then create that again. And then now it's back. So replace it. I guess that's how you can decrypt it, I guess. Remove if you know how to get your code back. And then now it should be back. Okay, so alter is very easy. The only thing is that you have to have exactly same, if you want to have the exactly same columns as before, then you need to know that statement there, that's all. Okay? Because whatever you add or remove here will replace the view. So if I save this, not save this, if I go back and add the buyer ID back, so alter the buyer ID, and run that again. Okay, so everything's back to normal as before. And now I can insert with the number 4, right? And we're back to where we were before. So everything is good. Okay. So now the other option is the table on the columns. So here, I didn't supply the default columns, so it takes all these columns and use these as default columns. If I want to replace these with my own alias columns, then I put it here. I just put here, maybe BID for buy ID, F name, and then L name. If I do that, okay, these will replace these in that order. So make sure you put in the same order, because whatever you put here will replace that field. And if you put a different name, people might misunderstood what that means. So if you go ahead and then alter that view, okay. So now if I select from the view, you see that it uses the alias column names. Okay. If you look at the columns in here, if I update this, you see it only shows the alias columns. You won't know it until you have the source code. You can, if you don't encrypt it, then you can find out by issuing the command, and you say the original fields are these, not the alias ones. Okay? And when you insert data back to the table through this alias, you have to reference these fields here, not these. Okay, you cannot reach these anymore, pretty much. These are not accessible. So if you don't supply the fields, you can just do this, and it should still work. If I go here and put 5 for Mark Jones. Okay, that should still be fine. Insert that into the field, the buyer table, and you see that it's been added. Okay. If you want to reference the table columns, then you would do it here. If I put like the buyer ID, for example, the original ID and first name, last name. Okay, if I put that and put a 6 in here, put here Steve. Okay, so I insert that. You see that has an error because the buyer ID, first name, and last name are not found. Okay, they're not part of that view. So therefore, you have to reference the original or the alias names in order for this to work, if you are referencing the original field here. And you might ask, why do you even need this when you can do that? Well, that's fine. Yeah, if you supply all the fields, then you don't have to do this. But sometimes you don't really put the first name or the last name, for example, right? So if you just do, if I skip the first name and I just want the last name, so you can do that. Then you can skip the first name if the first name is nullable. So if you look at it, it says, yeah, it's null. It takes no value, so that's fine. And because we didn't also supply default value, so it will be null. So doing this way, I don't have to supply the first name, just the columns I want. And if I do this as well, you can see that it can go in any order. It doesn't matter. Put it here, and the ID comes last. It's fine, right? I can put ID in the back here. Okay. So as long as they match, it's okay. And if I insert now, yeah, so there it is. It should be okay. So if you look at the view, that 6th person should have a null for the first name. Okay, so.
And then all these values are inserted into the VW file, not the original buyer table?
No, it goes right into the original buyer table.
Also?
Now also, it will only go there.
Oh.
Yeah, the view.
That's right.
Yeah, the view is just like a window that you pass data through. It's like another filtration system. Right. So yeah, so if you select that from the buyer, you should still get the same result, the same data, because that is where this data is stored. Okay. Yeah. So the view. Remember that the view is just have the statements in there. That's all it does. You just have a statements, and if you think about like in the programming expect, you have a collection of function statements, and then you assign that to a function. So you just call that function, kind of like that.